Things found in food, part 2.
Films himself opening a Capri Sun after his 4-year-old said the juice wouldn't come out. This is what he found.
Okay.
The 4-year-old was trying to drink it, and this is what it's inside.
What is that?
Nasty.
Well, what is it?
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do, don't worry, I'm gonna break it down for you guys, man. We talk about the most scarce and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, unusual, unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank all the seekers, man, who's watching the videos entirely. Commented down below. I greatly appreciate the support. Found this video for you guys today, man. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Say it with me, y'all. Let's seek the truth.
Did this guy just capture a bunch of angels in the sky in Florida? Watch this.
Never
Break
seen
it down.
something like this.
What are those?
There's like tens of thousands of these reflective objects in the air. I thought they were birds at first, but looking closer, it's literally just these reflective objects.
Definitely not birds, yo.
What is this?
Are they UFOs? Are they angels?
Those ain't birds.
Somebody let me know in the comments. Stay weird.
It's all coming to here, so I'm gonna get out of here.
I know it may be hard to believe when people use terminology such as "there's a glitch in the Matrix," but the following video that I'm about to share with you might just be a glitch in the Matrix. 2 moons appeared over Chicago. You heard what I said. 2 moons appeared over Chicago.
2?
But that's not the craziest part of the video. 1 moon actually shifts from the right side to the left side. Take a look at the video. There's the 2 moons right there. Keep an eye on the moon as it shifts.
Oh, shift it.
Watch in slow motion. Goes from the right to the left.
4K.
That's not normal. When the video begins, there are 2 moons. The moon on the right shifts over to the left. I have no explanation as to what just happened. Can you explain to me what you think just happened? And if you were in Chicago and witnessed this, hit me up in the comments and let me know what you saw, and share photos, please. And as always, I'd love to hear from you.
Look at
What
some
was
crazy
that?
things happening in the world right now. Elon Musk now controls over 65% of all satellites that are orbiting the Earth right now. A new survey came out saying that nearly half of all parents, or 47%, admit to only staying together for their kids. 2 inmates conceived a healthy baby without even meeting. They used an air vent, bedding line, and a yeast infection applicator. Can't deny that that was creative. An airplane departing Shanghai was delayed 5 hours after an elderly woman tossed coins into the jet engine for good luck. Flowers in Antarctica are starting to bloom, and experts are saying that that is not good news. Meta is going crazy and offering tons of money to top AI people, and offered someone $1.25 billion for 1 person. I think that's about what LeBron has earned in his entire career, if that, from a salary. And he said no. You said no to $1 billion just to have a job somewhere.
Proves, man, money can't buy happiness. See, because if somebody offer you $1.25 billion for a job, you taking it?
We have officially entered the world's 2nd space race. Because according to documents obtained by Politico, NASA's acting administrator will soon announce plans for the US to fast-track their launch of a nuclear reactor to the moon. Now, apparently their reason for moving up the timeline is because NASA desperately wants to beat China and Russia, who have actually teamed up to launch their own nuclear reactor on the moon. And the thing is, whoever establishes their reactor first, well, they will have first dibs to declare what's known as a keep-out zone. And that will essentially limit what other countries can do nearby on the lunar surface. But America doesn't like keep-out zones, on Earth or in space. Unless it's called the southern border. So, with the China-Russia project only meant to launch in 2035, USA said, aight, let's run it by 2030. And even a senior NASA official whose identity was kept anonymous was reported saying it is about winning the second space race. Now you'll be happy to hear this nuclear reactor isn't for starting Universe War I. In fact, according to NASA themselves on those same documents, it will, quote, lay the groundwork to be able to support a future lunar economy for high-powered energy generation on Mars and to strengthen national security in space. There it is. My bad. Guess I'll catch you on the lunar front lines.
2014, a man named Lars Mittank ran out of the airport saying, "I don't want to die here, I have to get out of here." He sprinted into the woods, left all his belongings behind, and he was never found again. This happened in 2014, 11 years ago, and nothing has been found. None of his friends or family even heard from him again. He completely disappeared. A few days before he was supposed to fly, he got into a bar fight because of some rivalry going on with some sports teams. The guys ended up rupturing his eardrum, and the doctor over there said he should not fly at all. So his friends decided to leave without him. That left him alone there. His behavior took a very dramatic turn. He started acting paranoid right away. He texted his mom, "What should I do? ? Cancel my credit cards," and then that he's being followed. He also checked into a cheap hotel one night and then left in the middle of the night claiming somebody was trying to kill him. Did the medications the doctor give him, cause him to go under psychosis as a side effect and have hallucinations? Was he just, shook up and had PTSD from that fight he got into at the bar? Or did he know something? We're never gonna know though. Human remains were found near this Bulgarian airport in 2025, so this year. However, they were not identified to be Lars Mittank's remains. Like I said, he has never been seen or heard from ever again after this. This was the last known image of him on the surveillance camera footage. What do you guys think happened here? Let me know.
Weird. Just told us the real reason that Duke Dennis was arrested in San Antonio, Texas, and this is not going to end well for Duke Dennis. So if you guys saw this video of Duke Dennis getting arrested at a mall in San Antonio, Texas, it was from this past weekend when Kai Cenat and the AMP team entered a mall to play a big game of hide and seek, and things went so much more worse than anybody could have ever expected. They rented out the mall to play the game of hide and seek, and after the mall was closed, and in this video you can literally see the cops manhandling Dookie Dennis. A lot of people thought that this was a publicity stunt to promote their video, but this was literally more realer than anything, because Dookie Dennis even had to have a $1,000 bail set on him, and it left people wondering what was he even arrested for. And now Kai Cenat has finally broken his silence, and this is even more insaner than I could have ever expected, as Kai literally broke down in tears on stream. And while Dookie was getting arrested, I was literally sitting upstairs wondering what was going on. Oh my god, let's take a moment to appreciate how good Dookie Dennis looks in this pic. According to the state of San Antonio, it was criminal trespassing and evading arrest.
Here's some of the...
He keeps calling him Dookie Dennis. I'm about to say, if they rented out the mall, so why did they even arrest Duke? I'm about to say he said Kyle broke down on stream, but I mean he was right there, so obviously he saw what happened. But I don't know why, man, they locked up Duke Dennis, especially if they rented a mall. I don't get the point.
Most disturbing things found in food, part 2.
If you are eating or have a weak stomach, please skip or proceed with caution. In 2016, a man films himself opening a Capri Sun after his 4-year-old said the juice wouldn't come out. This is what he found.
Okay.
The 4-year-old was trying to drink it, and this is what it's inside.
What is that?
Nasty.
Well, what is it?
Looks like mold.
Sadly, this isn't the only incident to occur. Many other videos show people opening up their own Capri Suns to find the same thing or worse hidden within the pouch.
Mold?
So next time you go to drink one, make sure you check the bottom to make sure no surprises await you.
Still behind me is one of the most terrifying photos from any found footage case I've ever come across. There's this place in South Dakota called Deadwood that has a very unsettling urban legend. What used to be this old mining town has this really sinister lore that there is something deep in the woods that is very wrong. According to the story, there is a bunker. Rumors around this circulated in the early 2000s about the dark web being connected to this hidden bunker or this cell, saying that there was some kind of pay-for-play cam feed of torturous things going on inside the bunker. But then in 2010, somebody in the woods of Deadwood claimed to find the opening to the bunker. They only got limited photos, and they described it as kind of like a cell that had been completely cleared out that had 1 to 2 hallways to another room. But the creepy part was the alleged DVD that they found. Turned over to police, there is only 4 seconds of footage on this DVD, which is where this image came from, but look to the background for something else.
I find this video hella creepy that got Cynthia Erivo in it. Y'all, I don't know if I'm tripping. I don't know if my eyes are deceiving me. But if it's not, this is the second time I done seen her hands grow on camera, fool. Before I show y'all the video, look at her hands right here. Y'all see her hands ain't too big. Even with them long ass nails, it's not too long. On this video, when she's playing Jesus on stage, she's singing, and I swear her hands got longer, fool. Nigga, this shit creeped me out. This shit crazy, fool. Y'all, watch the video.
Let's check it out.
Watch the hands, fool. Look at it. Did y'all see it? No? Hold up, I'ma slow it down.
Okay.
Look at the hands, y'all. Tell me I'm not tripping. Am I tripping? Am my eyes deceiving me? That shit look crazy, fool. Now, you can honestly say on that video, her hands look way longer than what it is on this picture, right?
Yeah.
You agree to that? Or am I tripping on that part too? I need y'all thoughts down below in the comments. Let me know if y'all seen the same shit I seen. And also, make sure you share and like this video. And if you stay to the end, drop an A in the comments. Let me know.
She saw her 2 old dogs that passed away, playing in the afterlife. A young woman named Julie posted a heartwarming clip on TikTok of her 2 dogs playfully running around the living room. But what her viewers didn't know was that her 2 dogs sadly passed away over 2 years ago.
They caught them on camera? Ghost cam?
It seems like Julie's pets are still having fun together, even in the afterlife.
Flyover, the world's first and last fully underwater water slide at Den Rel Amusement Park in the Netherlands, constructed in 1994 and ceasing operation in 2003. During the duration of the slide, riders were completely submerged in water. Yeah, there is a water slide in the Netherlands where you're completely submerged during the water slide. I drowned just looking at this photo. This is the entrance of it as seen in the picture previously. This is a picture of the entire water vat that pumps into here. This is, as someone that has a phobia of pools, I make content about this all the time, you're not surprised. This is disgusting. Watch this video and let me know what you're thinking. This would give me a major panic attack. Like, I could why? Why would you ever do this?
Water slide, but you're completely submerged underwater. I mean, you better hurry up and get out of there, man. Gotta be a good swim.
In all my time on this planet, I have never saw this many floods happen back to back. So in India, a village just got dismantled from a flood. And they're claiming this flood happened because of a cloudburst. Matter of fact, look at this shit.
Okay.
Look at this shit right here. Look at how that water is coming down. And when I say the whole town might be gone, the whole town may be gone. Have you ever seen anything like this? And they're saying that happened from something called a cloudburst, which I've never heard of before. So I had to jump down that rabbit hole and see exactly what that was. And let me tell you this, that shit is scary. Matter of fact, look at this.
This isn't a harmless drizzle, it's a cloudburst.
Whoa.
Where the sky dumps thousands of liters of water in seconds. These storms are so powerful they can wipe out roads, destroy houses, and sweep away anything in their path.
So from this disaster, they're saying at least 50 people were missing. But it might be more than that. You saw the video, and you saw how all of that water took away all of those houses. Now tell me if you ever seen anything like that before. Tell me if you've seen a whole village get swept away before. I'll wait. And again, this is another flood to add on the floods that just happened. What's going on? What is God trying to say? I'm out.
Moon
I
is
don't know.
interesting. I can't remember what he talked about in the last time I was here, but I think the game Pac-Man is about the moon.
That's a good theory. I love it.
I think it's about the moon. If you study Pac-Man when he closes his mouth, what does it look like? Exactly like the moon. What does it do? There are old beliefs that the moon is an energy eater, a soul eater, and that the theory is that, you know, when you die, you go into this light, and basically you see all your dead relatives, but they're really archons trying to convince you to come back into it because we're kind of batteries for this reality.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
So if you study Pac-Man, what does Pac-Man do? He's eating
Eat the ghosts.
dots that look like stars, right?
Run away from
Eats the
ghosts.
dot, and he runs away from ghosts, but when he eats that one dot, what does he do? He eats the ghost, and what happened to the ghosts? They get reborn.
Interesting. I'm all in on this. This is great. This is so funny.
All these video games have very esoteric meanings to it. I think Super Mario is basically man, like the study of man, like the journey of man. Man, you know, if you study Donkey Kong, he shows up. His whole job is like to keep his chick and get the job done. So he saves her. He does the job. Now he gets a promotion. He's outside. He eats some mushrooms. Next thing you know, he's in Super Mario Kart, and all things are possible.
Did Nicolas Cage build a cursed pyramid tomb in order to break a voodoo curse? In 2007, he bought one of the most haunted homes in America, the LaLaurie Mansion in New Orleans. Yes, Kathy Bates' character, Delphine LaLaurie from American Horror Story, that girl. Madame Delphine LaLaurie enslaved and tortured hundreds of people in the 1800s. This home is drenched in blood, history, and supernatural lore. And Nicolas Cage thought it would be a great place to buy and write a horror novel in. But almost immediately after buying it, things started to go wrong. He started having very intense nightmares. He was hearing whispers in the house. He said that he was feeling like he was being watched. And then in 2009, there was a foreclosure, and he lost the mansion, but he also lost all these other properties. He lost $6.8 million worth of properties. People believe that because he bought that house, he then got cursed, and that's why he lost all those other properties. Now here's where it gets wild. There was a psychic that he met with who told him that the curse could only be broken if he was buried near the voodoo queen Marie Laveau. Except she was buried in a cemetery that was completely full, like they had no space. But since Nicolas Cage is Nicolas Cage, he talked to the curse and they made room for this 9-foot-tall white pyramid tomb. It's just a couple feet from Laveau. It has this Latin phrase on it that means everything from one. It was also advised to put that on his tomb. It's almost like he was begging the afterlife for mercy. After that, everything started to look up again in his life. Let me know if you think he was cursed, and follow for more.
See, I never get the point of when people trying to buy like cursed objects, cursed house and stuff like that. It's just like, it's too much bad energy to even mess around with. It ain't worth the risk, man. It's a crazy theory, though.
See one of these hanging from someone's bag, run. Oh, sorry, I meant these. Turns out they might be kinda demonic, so this is everything you need to know about the Labubu demon theory in 1 minute. These collectible toys called Labubus have been going crazy viral after a few celebrities were seen hanging them off their purses, and so everyone wanted one. They are these weird stuffed creatures with sharp teeth, evil grins, and angry-looking eyes that can also be red. Not suspicious at all, right? Then many people came out online saying weird shit started happening right after they bought theirs. Stories of objects moving around their house, waking up with scratches, getting sick, and experiencing chest pains. One girl claimed she saw the eyes change color and this smile get wider. Another got in a car accident shortly after buying one. Either way, everyone just felt a creepy, unsettling presence around these toys for some reason. Well, now similarities are being drawn between the name Labubu and a demonic deity from Babylonian mythology called Pazuzu, who's known as the King of the Demons and is often depicted with animal features, sharp teeth, a grinning smile, and long ears. Looks familiar, and people got so spooked they started burning theirs and throwing them out of fear. And of course, Simpsons already called it over 7 years ago in an episode where Homer buys a literal Pazuzu toy for Maggie and she gets possessed. Celebrities endorsing behavior with weird demonic undertones marketed towards the youth has disturbingly become just another Tuesday in the 21st century. I do not claim any of this negative energy, and don't worry, neither do you.
Most annoying.
I don't claim that energy either.
Horace Mann. He invented school. Henry Fischel.
What he made?
He invented exams.
Wow.
Ethan Zuckerman. He invented pop-up ads.
That was not good, bro. Hate those.
Isaac Newton. He invented mathematics. Adam Smith.
What do you mean?
He invented taxes.
Oh, come on, man. Imagine the world with no taxes, bro.
Levi Hutchins. He invented alarm clocks.
You ever heard the Superman theory? How he's a fallen angel? How? Superman's name is Kal-El. Kal in Hebrew means light. All of the angels, Angel, right? Michael, Gabriel, Raphael. Oh, yeah. These archangels end with E-L in their name. What's really interesting is Kal-El means what? In Hebrew, Kal means light, angel of light. Who is referred to as the angel of light in the Bible? Lucifer. No. So how do people view Lucifer? They view him as very powerful. How does he view himself? He views himself as, this strong guy that can take over the world. Ego, right? The whole mythology of Superman is actually about him being a fallen angel. Damn.
This is the...
Really? I never even knew that. Some similarities, though. What do you guys think?
worst sports injury ever. In 2013, during the Elite Eight of the NCAA tournament, 20-year-old guard Kevin Ware jumped to block a three-point shot. But when he came down, his right leg snapped, the tibia breaking clean through the skin, folding grotesquely in a way no one could unsee. Players collapsed to the floor in shock. Some cried. The bench recoiled in horror. Head coach Rick Pitino turned his face away, too shaken to look. The sound alone was haunting. The sight, unforgettable. CBS immediately cut away from replays. It was simply too graphic to show. As medical staff rushed in, Kevin was in agony, but his focus wasn't on the pain. Lying there, he looked at his teammates and whispered through clenched teeth, "Just win the game." And they did. Louisville pulled through with a win and went on to claim the 2013 National Championship, a title later vacated. But forever remembered, Kevin Ware's injury became one of the most gruesome moments in sports history. Yet somehow, after emergency surgery and months of rehab, he came back. He played again. His story became one of pain, perseverance, and unshakable mental strength.
Self-driving cars are causing chaos, but there's no one to give a ticket to, so who is to blame? Waymo's driverless cars racked up 589 parking tickets in San Francisco, costing $65,000 in fines, proving that even AI can't figure out basic urban parking. The most absurd situations happen when police try directing traffic with hand signals, and autonomous vehicles just sit there, confused, unable to understand gestures every teenager can follow. Uber drivers aren't worried about losing jobs to robots because self-driving cars still can't handle bad weather, construction zones, or unpredictable real-world situations. Uber is betting $300 million on 20,000 robo-taxis by 2031, but drivers think the company will struggle with massive fleet ownership costs instead of making drivers pay for everything. Austin is the only city in America that actually tickets driverless cars, while other cities watch helplessly as autonomous vehicles break traffic laws with zero consequences. Congress is proposing the AV Safety Data Act to force companies to reveal how often their cars block emergency vehicles, because apparently we need laws for basic transparency. These cars have driven 70 million miles but still get confused by parking meters. When self-driving cars can't even park legally, how are they supposed to replace human drivers?
This is real footage of Laura Shaver walking down the aisle to marry her new husband after murdering and burying her previous husband in her backyard. This all started in 2015 when 36-year-old Michael Shaver mysteriously disappeared in Florida. His friends and family immediately became worried, but his wife, Lori, claimed that he abandoned her and the kids and that he wanted to start a new life. However, Michael's friends and family tried to get in touch with him, but could never reach him. Eventually, Michael messaged his close friends and family and asked to be left alone. Then, not even a year later, Lori meets a man named Travis Filmer. They quickly got married and they had this beautiful ceremony with both their friends and family in Lori's backyard, which was this huge 5-acre property. At this point, 3 years go by since anyone's heard anything from Michael, and no one has filed a missing persons report. It wasn't until one day his close friend noticed that Michael was uploading very strange photos on Facebook, and he felt like something was off, so he asked police if they could go to his house where he lived with Lori and do a welfare check. The officer went to the backyard, which again was this huge 5-acre property, and described having this weird feeling. He said that Lori's demeanor was completely calm, like she had nothing to hide, and then he noticed sources a cement slab with the outline of what appeared to be a human body. They quickly got a search warrant and they began digging in the backyard, and it wasn't long until they found Michael's body buried under the cement, which turns out was actually poured with the help of Laura's new husband. Her new husband testified and said that he had no idea that Michael's body was laying there and believed the story that Lori was telling everyone. So this entire time, Lori was the one logging into Michael's Facebook and uploading all these strange photos and responding to his friends and family pretending to be him. Now, things get even crazier because when Lori was arrested, she pled not guilty, and her defense tried to pin everything on her 7-year-old daughter, claiming that she shot her father while trying to defend her mother. The jury was not convinced, and Lori was convicted.
The most isolated place on the planet is a little dot in the Pacific Ocean called Point Nemo. It's the furthest spot from any kind of land, and the closest civilization is 1,000 miles away. In 2019, filmmakers hired 3 young-looking actresses to pose as 12-year-old girls for a documentary about online predators. Over the next 10 days, they received a combined 2,458 messages from sexual predators. Sarcasm is actually illegal in North Korea. In 2007, a woman died after drinking a little over a gallon of water in 3 hours. And she did it in order to win a Wii.
This pregnant woman was murdered and cut open by her friend. On October 9th, 2020, 29-year-old Taylor Parker was pulled over for speeding as she made her way home in Texas. Police noticed that there was a newborn baby in the passenger seat of her car, and when asked, Taylor said that she had just given birth. The officer quickly responded and got Taylor and the newborn baby medical attention, but when Taylor arrived to the hospital, she refused to get checked and the baby was pronounced dead. Not long after, police were called to 21-year-old Regan Hancock's home, where she was face down and deceased. Regan's mother actually found her with her skull crushed, she was stabbed 100 times, and the most disturbing part was that her stomach was cut open and her baby was gone. After investigating, police arrested Taylor Parker for this heinous crime. Investigators later realized that Taylor and Regan were friends, and Taylor was very involved in Regan's pregnancy, even to the point that she photographed her maternity shoot. Taylor also faked her pregnancy for 9 months. She threw a gender reveal for her fake baby. She faked her due date, and she found out when Regan's due date was, and she made sure to murder her on that same day. It's been said that her motive was to save her relationship with her boyfriend by having a child, and since she couldn't have any more kids, she murdered her friend and tried to take her baby and pretend like it's hers. Taylor was sentenced to death and is now at the state prison in Gatesville, Texas.
A farmer's pig gave birth to this human baby, but when doctors scan its DNA, they immediately call the police. On a small farm located deep in the Cambodian forest.
10 quick fire facts you didn't know that could save your life one day. So sit down, shut up, and listen. Trust me, favorite this video so you can come back to it at any point if you need it. When a dog wags its tail, it doesn't always mean that it's being friendly. It can actually mean the opposite. Never mix bleach and ammonia because this can make a poisonous gas. If you're ever sinking in quicksand, lie down face up. This will disperse your weight, stopping you from sinking. If you're in a crowded space, make a mental note of all the exits. If a service dog ever comes up to you without its owner, follow them immediately. You could save someone's life. If you're about to get run over by a vehicle, jump and try and swoop yourself up onto the hood rather than fall into the ground. If your airplane crashes into water, do not inflate your life jacket until you are outside of the plane, because if the plane starts to fill up with water, you'll get trapped inside and won't be able to get out. When you're booking a ticket for a flight, book a middle seat in the back of the plane. If an alligator grabs you, good luck! No, I'm kidding. Shove your fingers in its nose. This breaks its airway seal, allowing water to flush in, and it has to let you go. Now send this to literally anyone, because you could save their life one day. Yo, Iman!
Those are some interesting facts, man. Especially about freaking shoving fingers in an alligator's nose. Would that really work? Where he at?
This man abused and murdered a 9-month-old baby so badly that America went out of their way to sign a petition so the government can publicly hang him. If you are easily triggered by really gruesome crimes, especially with children, then please take this as your warning. This is a super disturbing case. And get a number on me, and I typically always listen to crime videos. Back in 2016, 33-year-old Benjamin Taylor, remember that name, moved in with his girlfriend Amanda Atkins to West Virginia. Now, Amanda had recently had a baby. Her name was Emily. She was a very happy, lovable baby. She was only 9 months old at the time. Within 1 month of moving in with this man, oh my God, I can't just listen. So it's around 4 a.m, and Amanda had woken up to, probably the bathroom, check on her baby. So when she goes to the crib to check on Emily, she looks aside and Emily is not in her crib. She is a 9-month-old baby. She is not just gonna up and walk off. Amanda's mommy instincts kicked in like this. She knew that Benjamin was just going to come and take her baby. He had just moved in. So she's running around the house looking everywhere for Emily now. She ends up in the basement. When Amanda took that last step going down towards the basement, all she saw was Benjamin.
75 passengers lost their lives after this pilot let his children in the cockpit. On March 23rd, 1994, an Aeroflot aircraft was flying from Russia to Hong Kong when the airplane tragically crashed. Only a few hours into the flight, one of the pilots allowed his 2 children who were also on the flight to enter the cockpit so that they can see how everything operated. The pilot's 16-year-old son Elder and his 12-year-old daughter Yana had the opportunity to sit in the pilot's seat and play around with the aircraft's controls. Of course, autopilot was on, so this was not supposed to be dangerous. Well, at least that's what he thought. The pilot told his son Elder that he can turn the plane to one side so he can experience what it was to fly a plane. Unfortunately, this disabled autopilot. The pilots were unaware that the plane began turning, but once they noticed, the plane had steepened to almost 90 degrees. The plane started to quickly descend while the pilots tried to figure out what was wrong. And there's actually an audio recording of how everything played out, and you can hear the fear in these pilots' voices. The plane ended up crashing on a mountain in Russia, killing all 75 passengers on board. After investigating, they said that the cause of the crash were the children who were playing with the controls in the aircraft. And it was said that if the pilots had left the controls alone rather than trying to fix them manually, the plane would have corrected itself.
People are saying you're...
That's why you don't let kids into the cockpit of the airplane, man. That was tragic.
Favorite celebrities are hanging out with a witch. As you can see, this woman is pretty friendly with a lot of celebrities. A$AP Rocky, Kim Kardashian, Kanye, even Amigos. But why are they so deeply connected with this woman? Her name is Michelle Lemmy, and it says she's a fashion designer, film producer, etc. But she's also married to Rick Owens, who is known as the Dark Lord of fashion. Look, here she is even wearing his head as a purse. Oh, and she's very close to Marina Abramovich, whose art is a little demonic. I mean, she once threw a party with a human-shaped cake. I kid you not. Look at this. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this just a connection for fashion, or is there something more darker going on? And make sure you guys hit that follow button, because my next video will blow your mind.
How rare is your body compared to the rest of the world? Favorite and comment on this video if you have any of these. First up, only 4% of people have Raynaud's syndrome. This is when part of your body, typically your fingers and toes, start to turn white when they're exposed to low temperatures. Only 16% of people can make a roaring sound in their head using their jaw. Now you can do this because you can control a small muscle in your jaw. Only 35% of people globally have 20/20 vision. That means 2/3 of the population cannot see perfectly. 10% of people are left-handed. As well, studies show these people typically live shorter lives. Only 5% of people globally have tongues that are tied. This is when your tongue is tied to the bottom of your mouth and typically will impact speech and eating. And probably the wildest one of all, only 11% of people in the world have brown hair. Yo, Elon!
Really?
And what you're looking at here is the greatest gift the Hmong people have given us, other than Sunny Lee. This is the Hmong dog, or the Hmong Bobtail Dog, or as I call him, the Meow Wolf. Because if the question is cat or dog and you can't commit, a puppy cat might be in your future. The pride of the Hmong people of Southeast Asia was forged in the mountains of Vietnam, likely while the Hmong pieced out of China for reasons. Some say this dog was a result of Chinese bobtails getting nasty with Vietnam jackals, and the resulting Hmong dog was used for hunting and guarding. Now you might ask what this cat dog could possibly guard you from other than low dopamine. Well, they're a lot tougher than you think, and they've been used by Vietnamese police as sniffing dogs, so if you try to bring some BS into their borders, you will have to see a professional snitch about it. Another thing is that their hunting history means they do not rock with cats, and yeah, that just sounds like a dog thing, but their prey drive means a cat can breathe and a Hmong pup will take it personally. It'll go from cat to casualty real fast, and for a dog that looks feline in the face, that's probably why they're on site. They clock the fake, and one thing they don't tolerate is an imposter among us. But obviously, if you socialize them and know what you're getting into, they can be a great addition to your house. You might even get a Zui. Zui is a Hmong dog that went viral for... well, I mean, how could this raccoon corgi not? Also, correct me if I'm wrong, I just might be, but apparently his name means raccoon. God bless this benevolent loaf of bread, and shout out to the Hmong people for baking him, the more you know.
You look like the Doge dog, bro. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Looks exactly like it. Out in the middle of the night taking pictures.
Listen to this crazy history that you didn't learn in school. A serial killer in New Orleans stated that he would kill again, but would spare the occupants of any place where a jazz band was playing. On that night, all the clubs reached capacity. Amateur bands played jazz music at hundreds of different house parties, and there were no murders. I think this guy was probably a big fan of jazz and just knew what he was doing to get more of it, I guess. From the year 1264 to 1827, anyone who received a Master of Arts degree from Oxford had to swear that they would never forgive Henry Simonis. But by 1608, no one knew who he was or what he had done. Before his acting career, Christopher Walken worked as a lion tamer in a circus at the age of 16 years old. He later said that he took that job because it was just too unique to pass up. The most significant temperature change in 24 hours happened in Loma, Montana in 1972, when the temperature rose by 103 degrees from negative 54 Fahrenheit to 49 degrees Fahrenheit. This is a 1950s ad for new homes with a pool costing $9,800. So when you adjust that for inflation, it would only be about $118,000 today.
Urban legends caught on camera.
That's about the skinwalkers. One leg doing that?
Things humans were never meant to see. Okay, first, this is how much pollen is actually in a tree. I can feel a sneeze coming on just watching that video. Bet you didn't know that beluga whales actually has knees. I'm pretty sure this is how the myth of the mermaid started. Don't quote me on that. Okay, we've all seen an alligator outside of the water, right? Well, this is what it looks like under the water. Who would have known? But honestly, it makes it seem a little less unscary. Okay, now everyone remembers the Teletubbies, right? No, not your ugly neighbor next door. Not her. Well, this is what it looks like without having their heads out. Finally, this is how an octopus walks on land. This is genuinely horrifying. Never show me that again. Things that only exist in Japan. First, these are square watermelons. They're expensive and shaped by special equipment on farms. There's plenty of unique Kit Kat flavors in Japan. From chili, wasabi, roasted corn, sweet potato, soy, watermelon, and a bunch more. Buildings will often have parking for umbrellas. You know, just like they do for bikes. Traffic lights will actually turn blue instead of green. There's a restaurant chain for canned food, and some places just won't have the number 4. I don't know why. Like buildings will skip the 4th floor and just go straight to 5. Or items just won't be sold in packs of 4. They actually have really cool high-tech toilets. Some functions include playing music and warm water, and also heated seats. I need that. Automatic doors are a common feature in cabs. Oh, and also capsule hotels. They're just rooms that just have a bed and TV. Would you stay there?
His life was taken after accidentally entering the wrong home. On August 26th of this year, just before 2 a.m., officers were sent to a home on South Holly Street in Columbia, South Carolina. Those officers were called for a suspected home burglary. As officers were responding, the emergency call was then upgraded to a shots fired call. The officers found a victim on the front porch deceased with a gunshot wound to his upper body. The victim was identified as 20-year-old Nicholas Anthony Donofrio. Nicholas actually actually lived on the same street where the shooting happened, and he just accidentally entered the wrong home when he was shot. The police said that the shooter was a man who lived at the home, but they were not going to release his name since he was not going to be charged in this case. Nicolas had graduated high school in 2021 in Madison, Connecticut. The shooting came in less than 72 hours after the university's fall semester classes had just begun.
These two insane parents held their 13 kids captive for years. David and Louise Turpin lived with their 13 kids in the Texas suburbs. They registered their house as a school so they could teach their kids from home, but other than that, they seemed like a normal family from the outside. The kids were seen playing in their front yard all and even played with the neighbors from across the street. But the neighbors began noticing some strange behaviors, like the kids marching in a circle at night and digging through the neighbor's trash. One night, the neighbor found the Turpin's oldest daughter running down the street frantically as if she was trying to escape something. So the neighbors picked her up and drove her back to her house, assuming she was mentally unstable due to her weird behavior and her dirty appearance. After that, the parents decided to move to this house in Oceanside, California. But only a week later, police received a phone call from a 17-year-old saying she had just escaped her house and that her siblings were still being held captive. Within minutes, police arrived at the house, but you won't believe what they found inside.
Stop scrolling because this has to be one of the scariest ghost stories ever. Just last month, a man died after claiming that a ghost was trying to kill him. The man was a Russian tourist staying in Thailand, and he reportedly fell to his death from the 9th floor of a condo. According to reports, he had approached a security guard on May 22nd, and what he told them was terrifying. He told them that he was being hunted by a murderous ghost with bulging eyes. After running all over the building, he ended up falling to his death from the 9th floor window. The guard later stated that the man was completely out of it. He kept saying that the ghost with bulging eyes was chasing him and trying to kill him. The guard said that he was terrified and running up and down the building like a madman. Another resident of the building claimed to have heard his screams just before the fall. They said that he was yelling in an awful voice and that it was like something out of a horror film. The witness said that until the incident, the Russian tourist seemed completely normal. The police said that they found no evidence of an altercation or break-in, and
who in there? Somebody in this damn room.
Iron Eyes Yeast presents Light Out. Everybody.
SeaWorld just got caught hiding a real mermaid. If you didn't know, there was rumors that SeaWorld was hiding a lab underground that had mermaids and an actual megalodon. And someone found something terrifying. So this man, David Seinfeld, decided to go sneaking around SeaWorld and see if he could actually find anything under the orca show tank, where the employees' area is. So that's where he looked. 30 minutes after looking in the area, he found a door that said employees only. When walking through it, he only came across a hallway. You know, the ones with the huge tanks over your head and the sharks and stingrays swim over? Nothing out of the ordinary, right? But then he got to a metal door. The sign said classified, no employees allowed. So of course he decides to go through it. He claims that there was a huge lab with 2 mermaids in it, swimming in what looked like a giant indoor tank. Now it didn't look like a normal mermaid. It had blubbery skin almost like a dolphin, webbed fingers, and these gill-like holes in its neck. And of course he took pictures and videos of it. If you want to see the footage, you can't, because this is just one big creepypasta. Send this to a friend if you want to prank them.
What is one true crime case that you just can't stop thinking about? I always wonder what really happened to 6-year-old Catherine Korzilius. On August 7th, 1996, Catherine, along with her mom Nancy and her brother Chris, were out running errands. Catherine's dad was Paul Korzilius, who at the time was the tour manager for John Bon Jovi. That day was Paul's birthday, so they were all out looking for a present for him. They all lived on Elder Circle, which is a small neighborhood near Austin, Texas. When they got back to Elder Circle, Catherine wanted to pick up the mail from the community mailbox and then walk home. The mailboxes were only about 1/8 of a mile from their home, and Catherine had done this a few times before, so her mom let her. Catherine would take the shorter route home, while her mom and brother would take the longer route around Elder Circle. This way, they would be getting home at almost the same time. But once Nancy and Chris got home with still no sign of Catherine, Nancy sent Chris to go and look for her. But when Chris couldn't find her, Nancy started searching for her by car. Within minutes, they found her laying in the middle of the road on Elder Circle. She was unconscious but still breathing. According to Nancy, she didn't want to make her daughter lay on the hot pavement, so she picked her up and took her to the hospital. Little Catherine suffered from a fractured skull and never regained consciousness, and sadly, she died later that day. Authorities initially thought that Catherine was a victim of a hit and run, but certain things didn't add up. Where Catherine's body was found was in an unusual spot. Her mom last saw her walking towards their house, but her body was found a little over a mile away from their home in the opposite direction that she was supposed to have gone. Catherine's body was actually found along the route that her mom and brother took to get home, and the autopsy only deepened the mystery. The autopsy showed that Catherine didn't die from a hit and run. Along with her head injury, she also had abrasions on her left shoulder, lower back, right hip, and her knees. The ME found that Catherine had either jumped, fallen, or was thrown from a moving vehicle. One theory investigators came up with was that Catherine maybe tried to hold on to the back of her mom's car on the drive home, but fell off. This would explain the location of where her body was found. But her family did not believe this, so they hired a PI. The PI noted that it was a really hot summer day, and at the time, Catherine's left thumb was broken and in a splint, so it would have been really difficult for her to hold on to anything. And it's likely her mom would have seen her in the rearview mirror. Catherine's family believes she was abducted and murdered. After her death, investigators brought in a canine unit that tracked her scent to a vacant lot 30 yards from the mailboxes, but it was lost after that. This sparked a theory that Catherine was approached by an attacker at the mailboxes, ran into the lot, was caught and thrown into a car, struck in the head, and then was thrown out of the vehicle where she was found. Nancy also stated that it appeared her daughter's body was laid out for her to find. Her hair was smoothed down, her clothes were straight, and her sandals were still on. Unfortunately, there's never been any answers in this case, and it's still labeled a suspicious death. John Bon Jovi wrote a song dedicated to Catherine called August 7, 415. And sadly, in March of 2020, Catherine's brother Chris, who grew up to be a police officer, was tragically killed in a car accident.
Welcome back to Female Murderer TikTok. This one's about Nannie Doss. Buckle up. Nannie and her husband had 4 kids. 2 of them died back-to-back from poisonings. The husband was like, something ain't right, and then he took the kids and left. So Nannie gets remarried, kills him, buys a house and land with the insurance money, and is like, oh, I like this. She reunites with her daughter. Her daughter's like, hey, can you watch my baby for a little bit? And she's like, totally. And then the baby dies in like 3 days. And then it starts to get lethal. She marries her 3rd husband. He dies that year. Her mom breaks her hip and she's like, I'll take care of you. She's dead. Both of her sisters die in the same year in different towns, all while Nannie's visiting. She marries her 4th husband. He doesn't even make it a few months. Then she marries her 5th husband. He dies a month later. But finally, in that autopsy, they were like, there's a lot of rat poison in this guy. Did you do this? And then Nannie goes, yeah, I did that to all of them. So she gets life in prison, and before she dies, they interview her, and they're like, why did you do it? Was it for the money? And she goes, money? I was bored.
That is a different type of demon, man. She said just because she was bored, she caused all that destruction. Mind-blowing. And the hotel bathroom again, man. Gotta be careful.
They built a guillotine in their shrine. On April 15th of 2023, the Makwana family stood outside a small shack in their village in India. Heimu and Hansa brought their children ages 12 and 13 to have a sleepover with their uncle and cousins. The children rushed inside to greet their relatives, and Heimu and Hansa reminded them to be good, and everyone just seemed happy. The uncle reassured the parents that the children would be fine and they would have a great night. They thanked him, turned around, and walked hand in hand down the dirt road that would lead them home. As they were walking hand in hand, they were feeling grateful for the family that they had, and Hansa was wearing a deep red dress while Heimu was wearing a white button-down shirt, something that they wouldn't wear very often. Their home was described as a simple brick and concrete structure, but instead of going inside, they went towards the back of their home where a handmade tent was. And this tent wasn't a shelter, it was a sacred ground. Inside of that tent, they had a personal shrine to the Hindu god Shiva, Lord of Destruction and Rebirth. This space was for prayers and offerings. But over the past couple of days, the couple had been constructing something new inside. It resembled a door frame without a door, and it had a long white rope. No one knew this yet, but it was a guillotine. Later that night, the couple went inside of that tent and decided to work quickly. They built a fire in the center of the shrine and scattered orange flower petals around Shiva. Next, Hemu took a pen and started to write a letter, and him and his wife put their thumbprints at the bottom as a signature. They folded the note and placed it carefully between the Shiva image and statue. Together, they knelt by the guillotine and recited a prayer. The parents weren't struggling, they weren't in debt, they were a happy family with their children, so they couldn't figure out why they would want to do this. Police started to believe that this may have been an act of black magic. There were no charges to file, no suspects to pursue, just two children remembering their parents the last time they saw them, happy, loving, and in their finest clothes.
Every single holiday that we celebrate is celebrating one of the 7 deadly sins. Valentine's Day represents lust. Thanksgiving, that celebrates the sin of
Gluttony, because
you're eating a lot. You're overeating. Christmas, what do you think that is?
Christmas. Greed?
Greed.
Yeah.
Overconsumption and excess. Celebrating gifts. We're not really even celebrating like the birth of Christ because people are so focused on the gifts and shit. The holiday of Easter, what sin would it be?
Easter.
Say it's envy because the Romans were jealous of Jesus, so they murdered him.
Oh.
It's crazy. St. Patrick's Day, it's sloth. Because people get blacked out drunk.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah. Now, Halloween is what? It's wrath.
Okay.
So, scaring and hurting people for fun. With masks, it's wrath.
Oh.
The sin of pride.
Okay, what's that?
Nah, we're not even gonna say that.
7 deadly sins represent the holidays.
There's a really famous mystery called the Dyatlov Pass. It's about these 9 really experienced hikers in the 50s. They set off on this journey and they reached the first checkpoint, but they didn't make it to the second checkpoint. And there was a big search that goes out to make sure they're okay. The army gets involved and they go and follow the route to find the hikers. And they come across these prints in the snow that led down the mountain. And some of the prints were bare feet, some had 1 shoe and 1 barefoot. And it's all 9 of the hikers. And they find 3 of the hikers and they're all deceased. And there's one who's naked. There's one who goes up in one of the trees and there's these deep gouges on the tree as if some animal had been scratching at this tree. There's more footprints that lead away from those 3 and the footprints lead where the other 6 hikers were and they're all deceased as well. And the women were wearing men's clothing and vice versa. Some of their clothes had trace levels of radiation and some of them had parts of their face removed, it looked like. Lips, nose, ears, it almost looked like surgical precision removal. There was a person in there who their chest had basically been caved in, but there's no sign of anything that could have done this damage. And suddenly the Soviet government says, we're going to shut this investigation down. All we know is that the 9 hikers who died from an unknown, unnatural
house fire. 65-year-old Gary Majors made a choice that would forever define his legacy. When a devastating fire erupted in his home, fueled by a malfunctioning space heater, Gary had one priority: saving his beloved dogs. Witnesses reported seeing him frantically ushering his pets to safety through the back door as flames engulfed the house. But in a cruel twist of fate, as firefighters arrived, they discovered Gary's lifeless body near the doorway, just steps away from escape. He successfully saved all 8 of his dogs, but succumbed to smoke inhalation while ensuring they made it out alive. Neighbors described Gary as a quiet, kind man who loved these dogs more than anything. His pack included rescues and senior dogs, their names etched into collars he carefully fastened each morning. Firefighters found the animals huddled together outside, unharmed but visibly distressed, as if waiting for their savior to follow them. To Gary, they weren't just dogs, they were his family. Though Gary didn't survive, his act of unconditional love went viral, with animal advocates calling him a quiet hero. A local shelter later honored him by naming a kennel wing in his memory, ensuring his compassion lives on.
What happened?
Gary.
His eye just turned green.
What do you mean they turned green?
Oh, hell nah.
Don't throw it to me! What happened?
They just turned green and I was cleaning my room.
What do you mean it turned green?
It's his eye.
His eye?
Yeah.
So this little girl went running to her mother, terrified that her Labubu's eyes turned green and the smile got bigger. A lot of Labubu lovers are upset over this, saying that this girl is lying, it's just her imagination, and that it's just a toy. Personally, I never understood the hype over this thing. If anything, it creeps me out. But there have been a lot of people coming out talking about their paranormal experience after getting a Labubu doll. Like this one girl who found a Labubu doll at a Home Goods, and she thought, why is there a Labubu doll at at Home Goods and no one has taken it. These are so expensive, they're hard to find. So she thought it was a sign and she bought it. So she's all excited and takes the Labubu home, and the first thing her husband says to her is that this thing better not be demonic. She doesn't think much of it. She kind of just rolls her eyes and thinks he's overreacting. The next day, she says that she got this very heavy chest pain that she's never felt before, and she didn't know what it was. The following day, she gets into a car accident. She doesn't think this is a coincidence and believes that something is up with this Labubu and is the reason why all this is happening to her. Then, of course, The Simpsons predicted this. In one episode, Homer brings in the Pazuzu doll. Labubu, Pazuzu, very similar. But he brings us into the home and all these bad things are happening. What do you guys think about this? Because I literally sat here the other day and I was looking at this doll and I was trying to like it, but I just couldn't understand. Like, what's the hype? Not only do Labubus have kids in a chokehold, but also grown-ups are paying good money for this.
Things that only...
I don't know what's going on with that Labubu hype, man, but, bro, can't deny the sequence of events. She had the chest pain, next day ended up in an accident. Mike can't just say it's the Labubu doll, but I don't think that was happening in her life before she got that doll, man. I haven't seen that going, viral on TikTok, so... What do you guys think?
Only 0.01% of people can do. Touching your nose with your tongue. Yeah, I can't do it. Apparently some people can't just raise one eyebrow. I think I can do it. And apparently some people can't cross their eyes, and I'm pretty sure I just did it. Sneeze with your eyes open. Okay, that's impossible. Nobody can do that. Apparently rolling your tongue is super rare. So apparently I'm a rare person. Apparently some people can bend their hand upwards. How is that possible? What? We can't tell parents about cruel babysitter, but what the dog does will shock you. A married couple have a kid, and when they moved to a new city, they needed to find a babysitter. After finding a babysitter, everything went great until 5 months later, the dog freaked out when the babysitter came. The parents suspected something because the dog was freaking out, so they put an iPhone in the house and captured the audio. When listening to the audio, they heard the babysitter yell and cuss at the baby multiple times while it cried. They then heard slap noises, so they immediately called the police. The lady then pleaded guilty to assault and served 3 years in prison.
I find that liminal spaces give me like a lot of anxiety. I'm gonna show you some of the liminal spaces that really freak me out. I just have this irrational fear of like being trapped in a store after they've closed. Like it's like a Toys R Us after dark. It's awful. I hate this. This is like what I would imagine purgatory to be like. You're just so alone in here. This one's bad too. It's almost like it looks like it's built indoors. This is like something you would see in a dream. It's very off. I swear to God, I think I have seen this in a dream. Like, what is this room? Can I explain why this one is so off-putting to me? It feels very much like deja vu. Almost like, not that I've seen it in a dream, but I feel like I've been in this space in like a past life. Same with this. There's like something really off about this space. I don't like it. Oh my God. Oh my God. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I just wouldn't make it. Like, I just wouldn't be able to cope. I don't know what was
famous celebrities' last words. Starting off with X. On June 18th, 2018, he decided to go to the ATM to withdraw some cash. He was then followed by a black SUV to a motorsport shop. After a few hours passed, he decided to go outside and he noticed the black SUV was still there. 2 men jumped out of the SUV and demanded that X gave him his car. When he tried to fight back, he was then shot in the neck 3 times. His last words were, "What the F is going on?" Now let's talk about Juice WRLD. After landing at the Midway airport, he suffered from a severe seizure, and this was caused by an overdose of painkillers. His few last words were unknown, but his last words dedicated to his fans were, "I love y'all more than life."
Legends, man. Made an impact on the world that young.
Terrifying apps you should never download, part 1. Up first we have Camster Pro. Now from an outside perspective, it actually looks quite cool and completely harmless. Now when downloaded on an iPhone, it gives you an option to connect to a network of iPhones which will connect you to security footage, MacBook cameras, iPhone cameras, so you can essentially watch other people. That's already strange, but it gets worse. What isn't told to you is when you download this app, you are unknowingly giving other people free reign to look through your device's camera, meaning other app users from around the world could be staring at you through your iPhone and you wouldn't have a clue. Now share this with a friend to make sure they never download this app because this could legitimately save their life. Elon!
Sounds illegal,
How
man.
rare is your body compared to the rest of the world? Favorite and comment on this video if you have any of these. First up, only 4% of people have Raynaud's syndrome. This is when part of your body, typically your fingers and toes, start to turn white when they're exposed to low temperatures. Only 16% of people can make a roaring sound in their head using their jaw. Now you can do this because you can control a small muscle in your jaw. Only 35% of people globally have 20/20 vision. That means 2/3 of the population cannot see perfectly. 10% of people are left-handed. As well, studies show these people typically live shorter lives. Only 5% of people globally have tongues that are tied. This is when your tongue is tied to the bottom of your mouth and typically will impact speech and eating. And probably the wildest one of all, only 11% of people in the world have brown hair. Yo, Elon!
I have the tied tongue. That's it. No other features, man.
Makeup is forbidden by God, and I'm not telling you not to wear makeup, but I want you to know the history of it. The word glamour actually means to cast a spell on someone. That's why when you do your makeup, you use a brush, which is actually called a wand, and when you rub it on your face, you turn into something different. Look at this picture. This guy did not used to look like this before he started wearing glamour or makeup. Look at the definition. The original definition of glamour is actually magic. That's why you see for definition number 2, it says enchantment or magic. It's the archaic version or the original version of what glamour means. And in the book of Enoch, angels actually came down to earth to teach women how to use makeup. And this is what it says. In the book of Enoch, it says the fallen angel, Azazel, taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, made known to them from the metals of the earth, and the art of working them, and bracelets and ornaments and the use of antimony, and the beautifying of the eyelids. If you read the book of Ezekiel, where it talks about Jezebel, it also mentions the beautifying of eyelids. That is because it makes you look better than you actually do. It's transformation. It's a ritual, basically. It was taught by angels.
I never even looked at it like that. I know, some people don't like makeup, or maybe that's why, some people be like, they don't like, when their daughters wear makeup at a young age. What do you guys think about that, Seekers? That theory? Where he at?
This apparent true story of a scientist who traveled to the year 4040 will definitely freak you the fuck out. And when I saw this, I thought, as long as it's better than 2020, it'll be okay. But boy, was I wrong! How do I put this bluntly? Apocalypse, aliens, still sexy. And the real life Terminator. Here's basically a timeline of how we, humans, managed to do what we do best. Fuck everything up! So let's take the story back to 2458, where we connect with alien life. They were a highly advanced species which brought great knowledge and medicine to our world. So much so allowing us to live up to 200 years! So what you're telling me is, I can still do the renegade when I'm 180. Nice. Honestly, the whole alien part of this story isn't bad, but in 3230, we create AI which outsmart humans, which tried to take over the planet. Oh yeah, and they succeeded. The war raged on for centuries, and by 4040, the real-life fucking Terminator had laid waste to Earth. But that's nothing compared to the guy who claims he's from 6491. 2020 ain't looking so bad right now. Elon!
You got the
If
air
you
part
ever
down.
see this, you need to run fast. This video is crazy. Make sure to follow and like so everybody can see this. If you ever see this outside, you need to get out of there fast, because that is actually quicksand. And if you were to walk into quicksand, you would get stuck. And the most dangerous part is if water gets added, because if water and quicksand mix, you could actually drown. Make sure to share this with a friend so you can keep them safe.
Dirty animal facts that biology class definitely did not teach you. Part 4. The sloth is quite literally too lazy to go looking for a mate, so a female sloth will simply sit in a tree and scream her head off until a male hears it and decides to mate with her. Whenever they feel threatened, turkey vultures will quite literally vomit on their predators to defend themselves. If you and I get too hot, we simply sweat to cool down, but if a vulture gets too hot, it will urinate on its own body to cool off. This also helps kill any diseases they picked up walking through the carcasses of dead animals. Could y'all imagine being so damn dirty that piss cleans you off? When caterpillars enter the chrysalis phase, they don't just sprout wings and turn into a butterfly. Their entire body turns into a soupy liquid that then transforms into a butterfly. And what's crazy is that even after all of this, they still have their memories. Honestly, have no idea how that's possible. Like, did they store that shit in the cloud? Like,
if you can't decide on where to go on holiday this summer, look no further. Because North Korea has just opened a massive beach resort. Oh, we are gonna party with Kimmy. Yesterday, he traveled to the city of Wonsan to officially open what he describes as the country's greatest success this year. And this is about to get propagandary, so lock in. The resort spans a impressive 2.5 miles of prime North Korean coastline and is designed to accommodate up to 20,000 people at a time, who will presumably stay in the newly built 54 hotels, dozens of hostels, and even VIP lodges fit for a supreme leader. It also has a massive water park with slides, surfing, swimming, sunbathing, and even waterboarding for those who misbehave. I don't even want to know how many years bro's getting for that fumble. It also apparently has several shopping centers, bars, arcades, golf courses, cinema where they'll run classics like Kim Kong and Mission Kim Possible, and also dozens of restaurants where they'll serve food when they have it. Kim was seen yesterday touring the facility with his daughter and his wife, who we actually don't see very often. And then in the evening, they had a huge celebration with a concert, excited fans, and even set off a bunch of what's known in the country as recreational missiles. Now, the good news is that this luxury resort will be open on Tuesday. Bad news is that, as of right now, it's only for North Koreans. But apparently, tourism is the country's next big thing, so can't arrest us all.
Here are some things. Man, imagine going to Africa. A North Korea on beach, man. You better be on your best behavior, bro. Anything, like you said, it's a wrap, man. In North Korea, they do not mess around.
That I learned today. This is the apple tree where Isaac Newton discovered gravity. It's literally still growing in England today and is now over 350 years old. 90% of the 300,000 Ferraris that have been produced since they started in 1947 are still working and on the road today. They accidentally put an auto reply email as the Welsh translation on a road sign. It was apparently supposed to say no entry for heavy goods vehicles. Instead, it said, I am not in the office at the moment. A French journalist blinked out a 130-page bestseller using only one eyelid after suffering a stroke at 43 and becoming paralyzed. The craziest part is he apparently passed away 2 days after it was published. The longest someone has ever stayed on the FBI's most wanted list was 32 years. And the shortest was 2 hours. 75% of the world's food comes from just 12 plants and 5 animal species.
Whenever you walk through a doorway, your brain basically takes that as a cue to completely refresh your memory, which is why you forget shit when you walk into a new room. If you announce your goals to others, you suddenly become way less likely to actually complete them. For some reason, we just lose motivation. If you ever stand saying like, hey, you could get really hurt, just be a little extra careful. Same thing like if you're holding a baby and you're like, I could just drop this thing right now. Doesn't mean you're a monster. Your brain's just like, hey, this baby's delicate. Don't drop him. It's completely normal.
Okay, so this has to be one of the craziest documentaries I've ever seen. In 1984, filmmaker John Alpert started following around 3 drug-addicted criminals in Newark, New Jersey. He went on to film updates on how their lives were going for 36 years and finally released the fully finished documentary in 2021. Life of Crime takes us into the lives of Rob, Freddie, and Delirious as they do drugs, steal, and seem to live a life of endless chaos. Over the years, we watch insanely intimate hidden camera footage of them committing criminal acts, coming in and out of jail, and trying to live a normal life despite temptation at every corner. The fact that it's filmed over almost 4 decades is pretty mind-blowing, and there are a lot of twists and turns as their lives progress. Overall, I'd say you definitely have to check this one out, especially if you like raw footage crime documentaries.
He made tacos out of her brain.
Wow.
Alvaro and Maria had been married for about a year and were living in Mexico. Although they didn't have children together, Maria was a mother to 5 children from a previous marriage. Alvaro wasn't the best husband as he had an addiction to substances and he was very violent towards Maria's children and would even spy on them when they were taking a shower. On June 29th of 2023, Alvaro was under the influence when he took Maria's life. He dismembered her body and placed it in a plastic bag. Some of Maria's body parts were left at the home while others were left at a ravine. Alvaro ate part of Maria's brain in tacos and used her shattered skull as an ashtray. 2 days after he did this, he told Maria's daughter what he had did to her mom and to come collect her body parts. Maria's body was chopped up by using a machete, hammer, and a chisel. Once law enforcement was notified, they found a black magic altar during the investigation. Alvaro confessed everything and claimed that the devil made him do it. On July 2nd, Alvaro was arrested and he is currently awaiting trial.
Facts that will mess with your perception of time. Sharks are older than the rings of Saturn by hundreds of millions of years. If you were given $10,000 every single day since the pyramids were built, you would only have about 6% of Elon Musk's entire wealth. To give a clear picture of the difference between a million and a million seconds ago was a little over a week ago. A billion seconds ago was the year 1990. Jimmy Carter was the first president to be born in a hospital. Obama was the first president born under the same American flag he served as president under. Harriet Tubman was born in Thomas Jefferson's lifetime and died in Reagan's. There were Greek playwrights who wrote shows nearly 2,000 years before Shakespeare was even alive. Follow for more.
Is that where you got inspired from? A little unknown fact of history, okay.
This is a true horrifying story of Hamdan School in Uganda. This school is an Islamic boarding school for girls. It was donated by one of the royal family members of Dubai 22 years ago. This story was submitted by Afra. An Arabic girl back in 2009 was a student at this high school. She knew that the school was haunted and that there was a graveyard right behind the school. And she heard rumors of many incidents where girls were possessed by jinns. But everything else about the school seems fine, because it's one of the most successful Islamic boarding schools in that region. But that does not deny the fact that jinns may live inside the school. Afra experienced something, and being in her 30s today, this one incident will always haunt her. Afra had a mutual friend that was a student in that same school. She was regularly possessed by one jinn. Out of all the religious students, she was one of the very few that didn't really care about the Islamic education. She always used to party, drink, hangs out with guys, and the jinn that used to possess her was surprisingly a Muslim. He was just furious that she used to disobey her family and her religion. They brought her to one of the halls in the school and they started a ruqya session. Afra was there witnessing the whole thing. After many attempts of trying to make this jinn speak, he finally responded. I am possessing this girl because she disobeys. I will not leave until she changes. They were all shocked and they proceed with the recitation. The moment they stop, just for a few seconds, the possessed girl stares at Afra. Who is this girl? Why is she very quiet? She is very pretty, very nice, but I cannot go near her. Afra froze in her place. She felt numb all around and she was not able to move a single muscle. The Imam was intrigued, so he asks the jinn, why can't you go near her? What is stopping you? It was a back and forth questioning. The jinn kept saying, I can't. Why can't you? Until it responded. There is someone in front of her with light. What does that mean? They ask. There is someone in front of her with light. I can't go near her. They couldn't interpret what this was exactly. It could have been the veil of light from the Adhkar. But regardless, Afra will never forget the demon's eyes staring deep into her soul, wanting to possess her.
That school sounds haunted. Hit the nail on the head.
They've been hiding this from us. The Great Wall of China. It's over 13,000 miles long. That's not a typo. 13,000 miles. To put it in perspective, America, coast to coast, is about 3,000 miles. You could stretch the US 4 times, add another 1,000 miles, and you're still not there. So ask yourself, how did ancient people over 2,000 years ago build something that long without modern machines? They started building it in 220 BC. That's before Jesus even walked the earth. And here's the wild part. It took over 1,000 years to complete. No kingdom, no emperor spends that kind of time and resources unless they're terrified of something. So what were they scared of? Now here's where things get weird. Look closely at the wall. The steep side with the lookout posts? It actually faces China, not the outside. That's right. The defensive side is aimed inward, which makes no sense. Unless the wall wasn't built to keep enemies out, but to keep something inside. Some believe it wasn't built by the Chinese at all, but by the Tartarian Empire. If that's true, what were they trying to contain in ancient China? And why does no one ever talk about this? Follow to learn more about the secrets they don't want you to know.
Gypsy Rose.
Yeah, I think the Great Wall is meant to keep something inside China. Like you said, I didn't even know that, man, that the tower's pointing inward, not outward. So that means that, like I said, it was keeping something in. Any theories? I say a dragon or something. I don't know.
Rose is completely crashing out, spiraling. And this is why. Gypsy Rose critics have rented a mobile billboard. It will be driving around the French Quarter until 1 a.m. They are also handing out flyers with a QR code where information about the case can be found, including the truth, the facts, the evidence. And Gypsy Rose, she's livid. Apparently, she is having a total crash out that this is even happening. But GRB, what do you expect? People are finally seeing the true narrative here. This group of women have taken up donations to fund this project. I am not sure exactly who is heading this up or who is involved. Please tag them below if you know them. I just think this was such a great idea. Finally, a little piece of justice can be served.
She crashing out over that? I ain't see it. We're gonna have to check that out. People say they got the information to the real case, the real info. I know people were mad, man, but they rented a mobile billboard. I underestimated how mad people were.
This is Robert Hansen, also known as the Butcher Baker, and he would abduct his victims, fly them out to Alaska where he lived, and release them into the wild and hunt them until they were dead. He thought this was some sick game and he loved playing it. He would also assault his victims and torture them in various ways. He usually targeted women that were sex workers, so like prostitutes and stuff like that. There had been many reports on these sex workers and then dancers disappearing in the 70s, and then in the 1980s they found bodies. They found 2 bodies next to each other with similar shell casings in there, indicating that they were killed with a hunting rifle. Robert Hansen himself was not a unsuccessful person too. He was kind of an unsuspecting guy. He was married, 2 kids, and he was the town's baker. Hence the name Butcher Baker. When he was caught, the police were shocked. They would go down to him for like donuts and coffee all the time at his shop. This is going to make you guys mad. In 1983, this woman was found handcuffed and half-clothed in the Alaskan wilderness and very disheveled. She told the police about what happened. She got abducted, tortured. This guy flew her out on his plane. He had a pilot license and everything, so he'd fly out the people there, and then tortured her and hunted her in the wild. They thought that was so far-fetched from the truth that they didn't even believe her. This happened another time with the same story, and they'd been suspecting that, Robert Hansen may be the guy at this point. It was like 10 years later. Because in 1971, that was the first time he was accused of assault. However, it was kind of a cold case. I guess police didn't take it seriously. And then in 1983, they're just like, okay, too many people are disappearing. Let's believe this woman and let's go check it out. All of the descriptions she made, even from the interior of the home to the plane, were all accurate. They found jewelry of the women that went missing. They also found a map with a bunch of X's of the Alaskan wilderness. All of the X's represented where he found his prey and how he killed them. The rifle matched the bullet casings of the first 2 women found next to each other. They went out there to every single spot where that X was marked with the search dogs, and they found bodies just everywhere. When Robert Hansen realized he was caught and the police were searching his home, his face was red, all his hairs were standing up. It was just very obvious at this point that they had got him. He would end up confessing to 17 murders. However, that number was probably higher because there have been 31 women that have come forward accusing him of assault and torture. He would die in 2014. He got life in prison. He died at the age of 75. What are your opinions on the story? Let me know.
On December 1st, 2007, John Darwin walked into the West End Central Police Station in London, England. Darwin had been missing for over 5.5 years, and now he was back saying, "I think I'm a missing person," and claiming he had no memory of what had happened to him. I covered this case on the most recent episode of my podcast. For all of the insane details, go listen to Inhuman, but here's an overview. John Darwin lived in Hartlepool, England with his wife Anne. They had 2 grown children, Mark and Anthony, and they were just living life. In 2001, Darwin worked as an officer in a men's prison, and Anne was a receptionist for a doctor. The couple also ran several bedsits, which are basically like places where people can come stay. They owned 14 different properties, but they were also in a huge amount of debt. On March 21st, 2001, Darwin decided to go kayaking, so he set off in the early morning in his red kayak. But he didn't return that evening and didn't show up for work, and so he was reported missing. The next day, the paddle he was using was found, and then later that day, his kayak was found completely wrecked. There was a huge search done for him along 62 square miles of the coastline, but there was no sign of him. Anne and her family were extremely distraught, and after a bunch of searching and the wrecked kayak being found, John Darwin was officially declared dead. With that, Anne was able to collect on his life insurance policy and at least start paying off some of the debt while she was grieving the loss of her husband. At one point, one of her sons was visiting her home, checking in on her. When her son left, she opened the door to the bedsit next door to their house and told her husband, "You can come out now." John Darwin wasn't dead and he wasn't even missing. The whole thing had been a plan to be able to get life insurance money to pay off their debt. For the next several years, John Darwin lived under a fake alias in the England area, sometimes even being brave enough to go out in public and go to the local library. He was able to obtain the identity of a baby who had passed away years ago, and with that, he was able to get a passport. He traveled a bunch and a whole bunch of other crazy stuff happened, so more details on the podcast. But by 2007, John and Anne were planning to move to Panama. They wanted to be able to start a new life there, and so they were trying to get investors' visas. They bought some property there, and while doing so, this photograph was taken of them and posted online. Note the date, 7/4/2006.
Okay.
So they were continuing to get ready to move to Panama, but John was really running into trouble getting the investor's visa he wanted, because to get that visa, the UK police had to verify your identity, and he knew his alias wouldn't hold up. So he came up with a new plan. He was going to turn himself in to the police by saying that he had amnesia and had no clue what had happened. Thankfully, the police were already onto him, and then this picture was discovered by a random member of the public Googling John and Panama. Go to part 2.
So he did all that to fake for some money? Lying to his sons, man? I didn't think that wife was in on it too, so this was a whole elaborate scam. Things people do for money, man. It's truly mind-blowing. You're not desperate, you have to be the fake on death row. And to be bold enough to go outside and go to the library, he just didn't care.
Nobody knew who this man was, and nobody knows who he is till this day. All that we know is he erased his identity successfully. This man came in a taxi to a hotel in Northern Ireland from supposedly Austria. He had a fabricated identity. He went by the name of Peter Bergman, and his address was fake. It was somewhere in Austria. The hotel receptionist didn't really think anything of it. He had a thick German accent, and, he could pass for German. Now, he stayed at this hotel for 3 nights, and in those 3 nights, you can see him on the CCTV footage leaving 13 separate times. The weird thing about this, every time he left, he would take something out with him, like his bag or whatever, and he would come back with nothing left or nothing inside of it. Like, sometimes he would leave with a plastic bag filled with items, he would return, nothing in his hands. He had some weird behavior too. Apparently when they were trying to clean his room, they knocked, he wasn't there. Then they entered after a period of time, assuming he wasn't there. He didn't have the do not disturb on his door or anything. And when they broke into it, he looked very spooked, as if, they caught him in the middle of something he shouldn't be doing. The next day he called a taxi to take him to a beach. He asked for beach recommendations at the front desk. He went to the beach, stood there for a few minutes, got back in the taxi, and then went back to the hotel. A little strange, but okay. The next day and the third day, he checked out of the hotel. He had his 3 bags on him, a luggage, a crossbody bag, and then a purple plastic bag. Except the luggage, the suitcase, wasn't the original one he walked in with. It was a completely different one. So what happened to his original one? They didn't catch him leaving with it or anything. It was also never recovered, too. He left with 3 things, the luggage, the paper bag, and then the crossbody bag, whatever it was. And when he got to the bus stop, just a few minutes ahead, he only had 2 of those 3 items on him now. What happened to the third thing? His body was discovered the next day at 6:45 a.m. by a father and son practicing for a triathlon. His luggage and shoulder bag were never recovered. He had random belongings scattered on the shore. He apparently was washed up. However, that's not how he died. An autopsy report revealed a cardiac event. So he had a heart attack and then died. An autopsy was done. They found multiple cancers. He had prostate cancer, bone cancer, and ischemic heart disease. A 5-month investigation was launched to find out who this man was, and despite efforts, nobody ever concluded who exactly he was. What's even sadder, the medical examiner even said, with all these, cancers and the ischemic heart disease, this man was in constant pain all the time. It's likely he was just sick of it and, he was just taking a trip. He knew the end was near. He's now buried in an unmarked grave in Sligo, Ireland. It's not clear how he arrived in Northern Ireland, where his journey began, or where it really ended. Many people thought foul play was involved, but foul play was not involved. Others claim he knew the end was near and he wanted to make peace and just end it here. That's why he had these odd things, going to the beach on the taxi, doing everything else. But nothing is concluded yet. That's just the assumption right now. Will we ever know the bottom of this case? Probably not. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
15, police arrive at a home near Sand Lake, Michigan. Inside, they find the bodies of Marty and Glenna Durham. Marty had been shot 5 times and Glenna was shot twice in the head but survived. After making a full recovery, Glenna told police that somebody had broken into their home before shooting them and fleeing. Marty's 3 children were going through things inside of his home when they found a manila envelope. Just a couple weeks before Marty's death, he received a phone call from a family member. The family member told him he had seen Marty's home in the foreclosure section of the newspaper. Marty had no idea about this, as Glenna was the one that took over the bills, and she hid from him that they were facing foreclosure. That is, until Marty's Parrot began reenacting the crime scene. The new owner noticed him arguing in 2 different voices, and the last thing he said was, and Marty's Parrot was the key witness.
This is one of the scariest catfishing cases I have ever heard of, and if you have kids that are online, you should listen to this. This is Austin Lee Edwards, a Virginia cop who catfished a 15-year-old girl online before murdering her family and abducting her. Austin posed online as a 17-year-old boy and was trying to sexually extort the 15-year-old girl. But once he asked for a nude photo of her, she stopped all communication with him. On November 25th, Austin drove from Virginia, where he lived, to the girl's home in Riverside, California, and murdered her mom and grandparents before setting the house on fire. He then kidnapped the girl. While trying to flee, thankfully the girl was found physically uninjured, but the trauma she now has to face is horrendous. What's absolutely crazy to me is that prior to this, Austin was a cop with the Virginia State Police. Upon being hired there, he disclosed in his application that in 2016, he voluntarily checked himself into a mental health facility to receive treatment. And without looking into it at all, the Virginia State Police hired him anyway. But what they didn't know was that Austin was completely lying to them. It wasn't voluntary at all. In fact, in 2016, he was actually the VSP has since stated that they were not aware of this, but if they were, they would not have hired him. To top it off, Austin had quit the VSP in late October, and right before the murders, he was hired as a deputy with the Washington County Sheriff's Office. And according to them, they contacted the VSP during Austin's hiring process, and they mentioned none of that. Both departments have since stated that there was no indication that Austin would do this. There were so many opportunities for this to possibly have been stopped, but it wasn't. So please be careful and remember this story if you have kids that are online. You just really never know.
Would you kill your best friend for $9 million? In 2019, Denali Brimmer met a millionaire online named Tyler who offered her $9 million in exchange for evidence of her killing someone. Denali, who was 18 at the time, recruited 4 other teens to help her lure her friend Cynthia Hoffman to Thunderbird Falls in Alaska. Under the guise of a hiking trip, they then shot her in the back of the head and dumped her body in the river. She sent photos and videos of the crime but never received any money. That's because Tyler never existed. His real name was Darren Chill Miller, a 21-year-old from Indiana. He then blackmailed Denali into sexually assaulting young girls, which led to her arrest and the discovery of evidence on her phone linking her to Cynthia's murder. On February 15th, she pled guilty to first-degree murder and now faces up to 99 years in prison.
This could easily be one of the most haunting Polaroids I think I've ever seen. Now, the Polaroid was captured and then later developed after Jonah Sullivan went missing. It didn't take long for investigators, once they developed it, to realize the same thing that you're probably realizing. There's something in this
this picture. Before we get into it, if you are a fan of all things chilling, mysterious, and unexplained, please go check out my podcast, Creep Time the Podcast. Go click the link in my bio and you can listen on Spotify or Apple. Now, to preface where the picture came from, Jonah was actually an explorer, and he would typically explore abandoned buildings, one of them being the Gershwin Schoolhouse, which was abandoned in the late 70s and no one knew why, and he went in 1999. After he never came back, police went searching where they found the Polaroid camera, but not him. The final picture caught on the camera was eventually developed, which showed someone in the background near the desks. If you zoom into the picture, you would see that Jonah was not alone in that room. An attempt would be made to digitally enhance the picture, and this was the result. One of the scariest lockdown photos I have ever seen in my life. On April 16th, 2010, in Newcastle High School, they went into a lockdown procedure. Somebody comes over the intercom and they say that there are reports of a dangerous individual who's inside the school. When this happens, Angela Germain just stays in place. She stays in the girls' bathroom and she ends up sending this blurry photo to her friend Kelly. And she's like, I've got to stay in here, oh my god. What she didn't realize was that when she sent that picture, in the dimmed emergency lights of that bathroom, she had captured the intruder who was hiding behind the end stall. But by the time her friend even notices the face and tells teachers and police and they get to the bathroom, Angela was found stabbed more than 15 times, having later succumbed to those injuries. Because of Angela's final photo and 2 other witnesses in the school, they do make a composite sketch, but they would never find this person. The only thing that we have left is the final frame in her.
These are the scariest serial killers from each state, part 1. Up first is Nannie Doss from Alabama, also known as the Giggling Granny. She married 5 times and murdered 4 of her husbands, and the only one that survived was her first husband. She also poisoned 11 of her family members. Her first 2 victims were her children, who allegedly died from food poisoning. She got the nickname the Giggling Granny because she would always laugh at the crimes she committed. She killed 11 people and is definitely the scariest serial killer from Alabama.
You guys are...
Do that to your own kids? And the nickname, the Laughing Granny? Yeah. That sounds scary, for sure.
Remember when that lady sued McDonald's because her coffee was too hot? The original Karen, if you will. Well, the actual story is actually really messed up. Stella Liebeck was an 81-year-old woman who pulled into a McDonald's drive-thru in Albuquerque to get coffee and other breakfast stuff with her grandson who was driving the car. He then pulled into a nearby parking lot so they could get all set up. The model of their car was too old to have cup holders, so Stella then put her coffee in between her thighs and removed the lid so that she could put sugar in. However, while doing this, the coffee then spilled onto her lap and Stella got extremely burned. And I'm not talking it was hot like it hurt her skin. She got legitimate 3rd-degree burns to her thighs, groin, and butt. She was wearing cotton sweatpants which fused to her skin, and then she had to be hospitalized for 8 days for skin grafting. After being released, she required in-home care for 3 weeks, as well as 2 years of physical rehabilitation and permanent disfigurement from the scarring. Yes, she knew her coffee was hot, but who would expect that it would be that dangerously hot? Naturally, Stella reached out to McDonald's to get them to pay for her medical bills, which were about $20,000. McDonald's then countered with just $800. Left with no other choice, Stella then hired a personal injury lawyer to sue McDonald's for compensation. During this injury lawsuit, they find out that McDonald's was requiring their stores to keep their coffee at a 180-degree Fahrenheit temperature. That is like scalding hot. It is close to boiling, which is 212, I think. Over the last 10 years, 700 customers had filed complaints against McDonald's in their customer service department about burns they received from their hot coffee. Stella won almost $3 million in her lawsuit, but sadly, this was not the end. Obviously, this looks bad for McDonald's, so then they retaliate by starting a PR campaign to paint Stella as the poster child for excessive lawsuits. Stella is ridiculed on late-night shows, she becomes a pariah in Albuquerque, and she even has to move houses because the harassment is so bad. This poor 81-year-old woman. Stella died in August 2004, 10 years after the settlement was reached. Her daughter said that the injury occurring so late in her life, as well as the court proceedings and negative press against her, virtually destroyed her mother's quality of life. Rather than take ownership, they basically ruined this lady's life. And if you're wondering, no, McDonald's has not lowered the serving temperature of their coffee. Instead, they just have a lot more warnings telling you how hot it is, so then you can't file a lawsuit in case you get burned.
The Manson. Really? What the? I thought one justice went out. I'm thinking they would at least change the coffee temperature, right? I never even knew that. 180 degrees, like you said, that's scalding. Crazy amount of things corporations do to keep their money.
Family. Charles Manson wanted to join a cult, but after looking over a few of them, he realized that they were a little bit too corrupt and crazy for his liking. So Charles would recruit over 100 people to join a cult of his creation, and this cult would be called the Manson family. Things would start out rather normal for the cult until one day on August 8th, 1969, Charles would order 4 of his members to go to the Hollywood Hills and kill actress Sharon Tate. He directed his followers to do it in the most brutal way possible. Sharon Tate was actually the spouse of very well-known director Roman Polanski, and she was carrying his child at the time. The 4 would break into the house and murder her along with 4 other people that were nearby. The madness didn't end there. The very next day, a grocery store worker and his wife would also be killed by the Manson family. But thankfully, though, the madness would end there because a few days later, Charles Manson, along with a few other members of the Manson family, would be arrested and sentenced to life in prison. It's a very wild case, but
this is the scariest video on the internet. This is Joseph D'Angelo Jr., who's also known as the original Night Stalker. He is an American serial killer who is also formerly a police officer who's been indicted on at least 13 murders, 120 robberies, and over 50 assaults on women. Listen how crazy this is. He would break into a house, tie the couple up, and he would take the male victim, put plates on top of the male victim, and would tell him that if any plate dropped that he would kill both of them. So now the male victim is laying down on his stomach, and obviously he's scared and shaking, so eventually one of the plates are gonna fall anyway. Even creepier than that, if he found a woman that he wanted to assault, he would call the home phone before and after the incident took place. And the video you are going to hear is exactly that. This is from one of the victim's answering machines in the 1980s. After listening to this, I can honestly say,
do you ever feel sometimes like you might be a witch? Or be a descendant of the Salem witches? If so, take this witch test and see. Yes, you heard me right. During the Salem witch trials, there were witch tests that were given to the accused. If they failed, they were imprisoned or worse. One way they would see if you were a witch was the skin test, which wasn't much of a test. It just consisted of authorities looking over the accused to see if they had any moles, freckles, birthmarks, scars. Back in the day, this was proof that you were a witch. Imagine being thrown in jail because you got a mole or a freckle. These people were unhinged. Yeah. The next test was the prayer test, which accused were made to recite prayers or a selection of scripture from memory. If they made any kind of error while they were reciting, or heaven forbid forgot a part of the scripture, we got a witch on our hands. Another terrifying exam was the swimming and dunking test. Accused witches were bound at the wrists and ankles and dropped into a body of water. If they floated, they were guilty. If they sank, they were innocent. But, obviously, no longer with us. And I saved the worst for last, which was the witch cake test. This was where an accused witch was forced to bake a cake with her own urine in it, and then forced to feed it to a dog. And if the dog had any adverse side effects after eating the cake, she was a witch. I told you. Unhinged. I can only speak for myself here, but I wouldn't pass. I got quite a few freckles, and I've been known to forget some scripture now and then. If you want to hear more about these tests and all about the Salem witch trials, check out the most recent Avery After Dark podcast episode. I cover it all, as well as some haunted spots in Salem. Do you think that you would pass the witch test?
So I found something on the internet that most people have not seen. This is the only known photo of Sheree Glenn. This is a leaked booking photo. It's from like back in the 80s when she was one of the most famous cannibals in the US before she was caught by police. The reason the photo was leaked is because at the time, her appearance was considered so disturbing for most people that it was decided that they would conceal her booking photo as well as her interrogation footage. Even the nature of her crimes is not public information. That was also sealed in the affidavit, as it was described as highly grotesque and complex. Even today, there's not much public information that's known about where she's being held, and that leaked photo is the only image that has ever been seen of one of America's most terrifying women.
Now that it's summertime, here are 3 of the scariest theme park accidents I've ever heard of. These stories are ordered to get more intense as it goes on, so if the first story is too much for you, then you probably don't want to stick around for the third. On June 21st, 2007, 13-year-old Caitlin Lassiter went to Six Flags of Kentucky. While she was here, she decided to go on the Superman drop ride. This is the kind of ride that lifts you up really high into the air and then it drops you down really fast. However, when their car got to the top, a cable snapped and became undone. This cable became wrapped around Caitlin's throat and feet. She was able to untangle the cord from around her neck, but she wasn't able to get to her feet before the ride dropped, and both of her feet were pulled off. They were able to attach one, but she did end up becoming an amputee. On June 2nd, 2015, the Smiler roller coaster in the UK was having several problems, and one of the test cars got stuck in the middle of the track. However, the employees hadn't communicated with each other that they had added a 5th car, so everyone thought there were 4. So when they saw all 4 cars at the station ready to go, they assumed that the test was done. They then loaded a car full of passengers and sent it down the track, not realizing that a car was already sitting stationary in the middle. The car with passengers inside rear-ended the empty car, resulting in serious injuries. The 2 girls that were sitting in the front of the car had to have their legs amputated, and the horror of this was all made worse because it took emergency services 4 to 5 hours to reach them as everybody was sitting mangled on this roller coaster. The Verrückt water slide was the world's tallest water slide in August 2016, where our 3rd accident happened. This water slide had an extremely steep drop and then a hill, and 3 people would sit in each boat. The owner of the water park had actually self-insured this slide because it was too dangerous for any insurance company to take on. In August 2016, Caleb Schwab went to the water park with his family, and the very first ride he wanted to go on was Verrückt. Caleb sat in the front and was too lightweight to weigh it down, so the ride went airborne. Then everyone watched in horror as the front of the slide impacted the metal safety railing that arched over the top of the slide. He flew out of the raft but hit the netting so hard that he was, It was quick for Caleb, but not for the crowd, as they then had to watch the boat finish the ride as the water began to run red. A guest at the park physically restrained Caleb's mom so she couldn't walk over and see what happened. So the last image she has of her son is excited to go on the ride and stepping into the line.
See, that's why sometimes I'd be skeptical. I'm not a big roller coaster person, seekers. I just don't trust those machines.
Tonight, a mystery deepening in Nevada with human remains discovered at Lake Mead 4 times since May. A body in a barrel.
We're here finally tonight at Lake Mead. Lots of murders in this area. Hundreds of bodies in the lake.
These people who are searching for whatever they're searching for are like looking in the water for something.
What?
They pretend like
Kill!
Is there a body that you want us to find?
Go right.
No! We were literally just talking about
running
we're about to
in.
find a body.
Someone's out here and all
No! Dude, they were hunting us down.
This abandoned asylum housed one of the most criminally insane serial killers in New England. Welcome to Connecticut Valley Hospital in Middletown, Connecticut. Opened in 1868, this was originally called the Connecticut General Hospital for the Insane. At its peak, the hospital housed 3,200 patients. Many patients here were subjected to extreme abuse and neglect, such as patients ingesting batteries, razors, and paper clips. One patient inserted pens into himself. But we're here to talk about murderer Amy Archer Gilligan. She was a nursing home proprietor and serial killer from Windsor, Connecticut. In 1919, she was charged guilty of murdering at least 5 people by poisoning them. One of her victims was her second husband, Michael. The others were residents of her nursing home. Studies and newfound evidence shows that she may have killed up to 60 people for life insurance money. She remained here until her death in 1962.
I can confidently tell you that this is one of the scariest places that I've ever been in my life. This is John Lowe. In 2014, he was 82 years old, and he shot and killed his partner and her daughter at his house in England. The house is known as the Keeper's Cottage Stud, and it was actually a puppy farm, because John Lowe was a puppy farmer. After John murdered his partner and her daughter, apparently he told the police that they had been, quote, giving him shit all day, and he also told them that they needed to be put down.
This is an incredibly disturbing story, and John Lowe actually died in prison a couple of years ago. But what happened to the house? Well, after the murders and the convictions and everything, the house became abandoned. The house itself was tucked way back into a forest in England down a long dark road, and back in 2019 I got to pay it a visit. Now, just telling you guys that this place was creepy doesn't do it justice, because this was definitely the heaviest feeling location I've ever visited as an urban explorer and paranormal investigator. I mean, the entire place was abandoned. All of the family's personal belongings were still in the home. There were shotgun shells that we found in the area. This is a picture that my friend Andrew and I took on the property at the time when we were filming our paranormal investigation. And we didn't know it at the time, but later we found out that this was John Lowe, the murderer's personal van. Now, inside of the house while we were investigating, we had so many bizarre things happen. Electromagnetic spikes, there's no power there obviously. We had a mirror fall off the wall downstairs while we were upstairs. And the whole time we were hearing noises and we just felt like we were being watched. But that is not the reason why this place was so terrifying. While we were leaving and we took this photo, we were remarking how the woods around the house are just so creepy. It seemed like there could be a killer out there right then and there. And this is the craziest part. So we're walking back to our car. It's a long walk through the woods, like a 10-15 minute walk. And right when we get back to the car, keep in mind we're way deep in the forest, we see a flashlight in the woods that we had just come from, like the area where the murder house is. And my friend Andrew points at the flashlight and says, it looks like that person's running, because the flashlight was going like this. And as we watched it, the light began to grow, and we realized that somebody had followed us through the forest and was literally running at us at full speed. In the video, it was like something out of a horror movie. We hopped in the car quick, everybody was screaming, there were 4 people with us. And my friend Andrew tried to floor it, like floor his car, and he went forward a little bit, and he hit a log in the road. I'm not even shitting you. And so he's sitting there going, and we're all like, dude, you gotta go, you gotta go. And he's like, I can't move the damn car. We're like freaking out. And the flashlight guy is literally running at us at full speed. We can see him through the back window of the car. And just as the guy is about to reach our vehicle, he gets off the log and we speed off down the road. This was all captured on camera. It was just terrifying. But I actually just found out that they demolished this house a little while ago. Good riddance to it. That was an evil place. So much darkness there. But I just thought I would share the story because
I gotta check that out. Who was chasing them through the woods? And they lucky that the log moved in time. And they was gone. That could have ended differently. Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support. Make sure you guys leave a thumbs up in this video. Comment down below. Hit that post notification bell, man. Tell me what you guys think of these clips I watch together with you guys. You guys are going to catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.